views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
You are listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin. To master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Once you walked in a forest of splendor in which everything you did and everything you thought was aligned. It is possible at this time to begin to return to the old knowledge. Intuitive healer and manifestor Julia Griffin is here to talk about this unique time in history when all sentient beings, animals, plants, trees, and the earth are intent on creating this change. The wolves awakened her to the most incredible light, which opened gifts and brought knowledge that she longs to share. You are creators, and you are born to be creators of beauty, possibility, and joy. Join Julia on a journey into a beautiful and magical world where amazing possibilities exist. Let us help open the door. The Power of Inspiration and Awakening with Julia Griffin starts right now.
Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I'm Julia Griffin, and you're listening to The Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour and let us help you experience a higher vibration and a new state of mind. Welcome to the show. I'm very happy to be with Jennifer Hoffman, who's well known for her intuitive work and insights. We'll talk about the new energies, angels in 2020, as well as providing insights to help you through this phase of the holidays and the new year. Let me tell you about Jennifer. Jennifer Hoffman is recognized as the world's most accurate intuitive mystic, a leading voice in the spiritual awareness movement, and an expert in energy congruence, vibration, resonance, alignment, and intention. She is also a top-selling author, popular radio host, business and life transformation catalyst, and spiritual teacher. Since 2004, she has published the weekly Enlightening Life newsletter with more than 4 million readers, which is the Internet's oldest and most widely read publication. Jennifer provides life intuition, spiritual wisdom, and business savvy to a client base that includes celebrities, business and industry leaders, professionals, and other clients from more than 75 countries. Her website is enlighteninglife.com. Welcome, Jennifer. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Julia. It's great to be with you again, and thank you for that lovely introduction. As I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking, God, has it really been that long?
Doesn't seem
it really
like that long.
Been. It doesn't.
Which on this topic, we've known each other since about that time. So, Yes, it doesn't seem, but time is changing, so it's hard to say how long it's been. I wanted to talk about one of the aspects of your work that I like so much. It's your guidance with the angels, and I think Archangel Uriel in particular. You know, if we go to the holiday season, the angels are very much in those stories. I know for me, and I think for you, that our lives changed entirely when we began to hear and feel angels. It was like this amazing lift with a high vibratory love and light. Can you share your experience with us?
Sure. So my story with Archangel Uriel is pretty well known. I was doing a reading for a friend, and she started staring at me, and it told me my voice had changed, and I was glowing, and I thought, oh shoot, somebody's here. So I asked who was here, and I heard the voice say, Archangel Uriel, and I want you to work with me. Now, at the time, my background's in technology, and my education is in business, and I was involved in business and technology, and I had my whole career path all laid out. And when Uriel said, come work with me, I said, gee, thank you. I'm very flattered, but no, I don't think so. I've got other plans, famous last words. So Uriel kept on bugging me, and I said, okay, fine. I'll put up a little website because, of course, my background's in technology. I knew how to do that. And I said, I'll put up a little website. I'll write a couple articles, and then that'll, we're square. We'll be good. So that was February of 2004. So Uriel contacted me in October of 2003, and then February of 2004 was when I wrote the first newsletter, one of now more than 5,000 that have gone out over the years. And the message Uriel had, I had no idea who Uriel was. I had to go look him up on the internet because it's not an angelic presence that we have had very often. We know the basics like Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, but nobody'd ever really heard of Uriel, and that's because the energy that Uriel brings is very much an integrated Earth, 3D, 5D energy, which is why I kind of quickly became known as, kind of the more grounded, kind of more practical, intuitive, and spiritual teacher, because everybody else was teaching all the la, love, and light, and I was teaching about integration, which has now come full circle because this is where we really are. We are, in the ascension integration process, and that's what this is. It really is a process of integrating 3D and 5D. It's not, we're all going to ascend into the heavens, and too bad for 3D. So what I've found with the angels is that, yes, they have a very strong, a lovely presence, but they're also very serious. As you well know, they have their very light side, but they also have a very serious side. It's serious work when you're called to work with them. And, I didn't ask for it. And I've had interesting experiences with people when I say, I really told Uriel I wasn't interested, because I actually wasn't. I didn't ask Uriel to work with him, and like I said, I had my little career plan all carefully mapped out. And this can happen to anyone, and it's really about your own frequency, and that's even more important now. It's about your frequency, your vibration, and at what level these angelic beings want to work with you at, because they exist at multiple different frequencies and multiple vibrations, and they will choose you based on the work that you do and the vibration you have and the gifts that you have, and how they can you can help them spread your message to an audience that will resonate with you. So yes, my life changed entirely. I took on a whole different life perspective when I started working with angels. But I have seen angels, as I knew you have, all my life. I've been intuitive all my life. So I've actually seen angels and been very much aware of angelic presence all my life. And I didn't know what they were at first, because they just looked like big beings to me that I would just see around my bed. Or when I was a child, I was paralyzed by a vaccine, and I spent a number of years in the hospital because I was completely paralyzed for 2 years. And I can remember seeing the angels then, and I was little. I was like 5 years old. I remember seeing them around my bed then. I just thought, I remember telling my mother, these big nurses visit me at night, because I thought they were nurses.
Mm-hmm. But I thought they were good people, because they would appear when I was very emotionally upset, and then I couldn't feel whatever I was emotional about.
Well, they would come and sit and talk to me, and comfort me, because I was in a great deal of pain. I used to have to sleep in body casts, and they were very painful. So they would come, and I would be crying, and they would come and talk to me and sit on my bed and talk. And I thought they were nurses. For a long, long time, I used to tell them, my mother, about these big nurses that came to visit me at night. Of course, she thought I was she didn't know what I was talking about, but she thought I was just making it all up. But I think that they visit us, especially little children. They visit us much more than we know, and are much more interactive with us than we know. And especially now that we've all collectively raised our energy and our frequency and vibration, I think that there are a lot more angelic interactions than there used to be. We're just not always aware that that's what we're seeing, or that's what we're interacting with. But
I completely agree with you. And there are times, too, that you'll be with people and there's a lift, and I'll look back at it and I'll think, oh, that lift was angels, because all of a sudden everyone was happy, everything was harmonious. I do think that we should point out for people who want to work with angels regularly, they give a lot of practical advice and do have a lot of things for you to do.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not all, it's not all the la-la stuff. It's So they can be very practical. They can be very comforting. They don't tell you what to do. They just guide you. They'll, sometimes I can remember I had a terrible car accident a few years ago, and I was literally going to hit the concrete barrier. I lost control of my car on ice. I was going to hit the concrete barrier going probably about 60 miles an hour, which probably would have killed me. And I could see the angels pushing my car over, and I ended up going through a massive snowdrift before I hit the concrete barrier, which slowed my car down like by a lot, so that when I hit the concrete barrier, I had gone through like a 4-foot snowdrift that was quite packed. That's where they pushed the snow when they shoveled, when they cleared the streets. And instead of going into, right straight into the concrete barrier, I hit that snowbank and instead went through it and hit it, and my car was probably going about 30 miles an hour, which still totaled my car, but it didn't hurt me.
Yeah, you were protected. Yeah, angels, I think, protect us a lot. And they're part of 5D. So I was going to ask you, what's your current perception of 5D, or how you feel it? How do you perceive 5D? I know a lot of light workers are feeling the energy.
Well, first of all, I'm the one who always says, it's an integration, not a takeover. So it is an integration of 5D into 3D, and that's what I think we really need to focus on, because if we look for, again, the love and light, the unicorn and rainbows, and 5D is like this whole different space or area, and we're looking for that that magical zone, I think we're going to miss the whole thing. So. But I see 5D as, when I experience like 5D part of my reality, what I feel is incredibly joyful. And this feeling that, this feeling of great peace and of being comforted, but also this feeling of just being in joy and really having this sense of complete control and complete connection.
And so when we're talking about the integration, for some of us, that's taking like our karmic patterns or our habits and really looking at those, maybe finding out what's underneath them or figuring out what we have to do to change it. And when we do that, that begins to move us into 5D, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, what happens is it starts clearing out the 3D blocks, the energy of 3D, so all the limitations, the beliefs, the blocks, and things like that are interfering with the energy flows. So it's almost like pouring oil into a decanter full of vinegar. So what happens, the oil and vinegar don't mix, but the oil makes the vinegar rise to the top. So all of a sudden you start noticing things like, where did that come from? Or you have an argument, or somebody calls you up and you realize, oh, this relationship's over. And you say, what just happened? Like, I don't understand. Well, because when you say, all right, I want to integrate this energy and I want to be in this 5D energy space. So all the 3D energy, all the limitations, all the things that block that start immediately rising to the surface. So it can be a rather difficult experience. Mm-hmm. It can feel like what did I just do? Like all of a sudden my whole life has fallen apart. Well, that's because the blocks to the integration of the 5D energy, because all energy occupies space. So 5D energy doesn't just come in and sit there and go, okay, now we're at 5D. It requires space to be in our energy field. So if that space is already occupied by lower frequency energy, by a lot of bad energy habits or energy patterns, or by beliefs that simply clash with the 5D energy, then those will get shown to you. And so that you can do the clearing work to remove them, so that you do have space in your energy field now for these new energies.
I often hear people say, this didn't bother me at all, and now it's driving me crazy. It's unbearable. I've got to do something now. I always say, well, that just means you're in a higher vibration.
Exactly. So lower vibrations and higher vibrations don't mix. I used the example of oil and vinegar earlier. They really clash. So when you start raising your frequency, and things that didn't bother you before suddenly become troublesome, it's because there's these two energies that you're now trying to integrate, like a lower frequency and a higher frequency, and they don't mix. They clash. So you have to find which one you're willing or ready to get rid of and start working on releasing that. And sometimes it takes, it takes a process of, somebody else becomes a catalyst, like a relationship suddenly ends, or you suddenly get fired from your job, or the job that you have said for years, I hate my job, I want a different job. And all of a sudden, there goes the job. But it's because those energies don't mix. So as soon as you say, gee, I want to raise my frequency, I want to raise my vibe, I want to do something different, I always tell clients, be careful, because the first thing that's going to happen is everything that's out of alignment with that energy is going to be revealed to you, sometimes in ways that you really cannot ignore. Like, you cannot ignore the fact that, oh, my relationship just ended, or, oh, I just lost my job.
Right. Yeah. Or just something that you're doing is just so uncomfortable, or even an eating habit. You don't like the food at all anymore. You're like, what is going on? This was my favorite food. But we can look at that as though that is an opportunity to become more of who we really are. The one thing I will say is that when you can step into the light or into 5D, it is such an incredible feeling that it does give the impetus to want to work the other aspects of your life into that place.
Exactly, but it's it's painful at first, because it does require sometimes an entire shift in your beliefs, in your thoughts, in the way you approach certain people and the people you connect with, and they will tell you, oh, you're weird, you don't feel the same, or you're different, or I don't like you anymore, I don't like to be around you, and that's because everything in your life shifts to accommodate this new energy frequency. So you shift and your energy field changes. So the way people would connect with you at some point, that doesn't connect anymore. Like you just don't resonate at the same energy anymore. So, it would be like waking up one morning and all of a sudden, you look different. I mean, you've changed. Like maybe if you were like a brunette, like all of a sudden your hair is blonde, and people look at you and go, well, what happened to you? You don't even look like the same person anymore, because you're not. You
don't fit into your old reality.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And that can be tough, especially when your old reality is, problems with family, or with your own children. I'm seeing a lot of that lately, where parents are having terrible issues with their children, a lot of estrangement, a lot of anger, a lot of children just like not speaking to their parents anymore for what appears to be no reason. And this is all part of that shift. And one thing we have to remember is everybody in our life that we have a connection to has some kind of karmic issue with us. There's a past there. There's a history. So when we say, I want to be done with karma, because there is no karma in 5D, and I want this all to be done, and I want to have, karma-free existence. So all that karma comes up for review. You have karma with your children. You have karma with your partners. You have karma with your friends. You have karma especially with your family. So I would caution people, when these kinds of things start happening to them, and they can be quite painful, especially if you have, your child all of a sudden that refuses to talk to you, or starts rejects you for some reason, and you're thinking, like, what happened between yesterday and today? Well, you have karma with those people, and that includes your children. And now, no relationship is exempt from this. All relationships exist. They have some kind of karmic interaction that's part of them. And we have to remember that when these difficult experiences start happening, so we don't, kind of fall into a puddle of tears and go, well, but this is my child, this is my, and I get that from clients all the time, but it's my child, it's my son or my daughter. Yep, well, your son or daughter, they're part of your karmic cycle too, and you have karma with them as well.
Do you think that we're rewriting soul contracts, that this is part of it?
Absolutely. not only are so we are rewriting our soul contract. So as we end our karmic experience with someone, so all our relationships exist on that karmic level. So they all cycle karma around. They keep on cycling it until we work through our karma or we decide to end it. And sometimes ending the karma isn't about everybody, grabs hands and walks off into the sunset singing Kumbaya. Sometimes the karma is for us, and the lesson for us is we're not supposed to be healing people. That's just not our job. And giving up on the need to heal people allows them to have a different kind of relationship with us and us to have a different kind of relationship with them.
Oh, that is such a great point, and I'm so glad that you brought that up. I've thought since 2012 that we really were not supposed to give away energy and heal everyone anymore. That was one of the mainstays of the Piscean age. But I think that we're all in the habit of giving away tons of energy to people that we're related to, and it's no longer an effective paradigm.
It's not, and it never has been. And it creates so much pain, and it creates so much chaos and so much division, because we think that people who are not on a healing path that we think is correct are wrong, and it's our job to show them what's right. And that causes so much chaos. And we have to understand something, and I've been teaching this for the past several months, that everyone is energetically sovereign, and they make their choices based on what's right for them and their own energetic sovereignty. Even if we think the choices they make are the stupidest choices in the world, that, first of all, that's not ours to say, it's not ours to judge, but also they are acting out of their own energetic sovereignty. And Uriel, one of the angels I work with and have for many years, has always said our most difficult lesson is acceptance. And acceptance isn't tolerance. It's not, all right, if that's what you want to do, it's okay with me. Acceptance is looking at someone and saying, wow, you're choosing to behave this way. You're making these choices. I fully accept your sovereignty, to be a total jerk in my estimation, and that's just fine with me. And now my choice is this what I want in my life?
That's a difficult one, but it can be done.
Oh, it is hard. The opposite of acceptance is judgment. So we are either accepting people's choices and allowing them to act in their energetic sovereignty, or we're judging them.
I agree with you. All right, let's talk about the current development of new skills. I think that discernment is really important because we have to learn what resonates with us. We have to develop the courage and the skills to stay aligned with who we really are. And you have a slightly different take. You talk about clarity, confidence, and congruence. So tell us more. I know everyone wants to know about this, and it will help people a great deal.
So I think that the development of new skills is important, but I think what we're actually doing is bringing our hidden skills forward. Things like our intuition and our ability to discern truth. That really rests within our ability to accept alternate views of reality, but also our ability to discern other kinds of truth and to not force our vision of reality on others or even on ourselves. So we have an idea of what we want things to look like. We have an idea of what we think things should look like, and then we just stick to that just as much as we can because our reality has to look like that. So then we create what I call false congruence, where we make the reality fit our belief or fit our illusion of what we believe the reality has to look like. That's like, being in a bad relationship and trying to make it work no matter what, even though you know that you're in a horrible relationship and maybe it's abusive or destructive or, there's something terribly wrong with it and it's not in your highest good or it's not, helping you. Maybe it's even a very destructive kind of relationship. But blindly staying in that relationship going, nope. I've got to make this work, this relationship. I know you love me and that you'll figure this out and somehow, we'll make this work. And we don't realize, how destructive those relationships are and how much trouble we get ourselves into when we, stay in those kinds of relationships. So discernment is important. And I talk about clarity is not some kind of magic pill. Clarity just makes things clear. We see things as they are when we have clarity. So there's no illusion. There's no, okay, it's looking, I want it to look like this, and I'm going to try and force the issue. Clarity literally just makes things clear. And then confidence is a state of integrity. We think confidence is about, being brave and self-assured. It's not. It's about being in integrity with your own energy so that everything in your life lines up and works with congruence, means if the energy flows with harmony. And on a divine level, not just, okay, I know I made it work. I know I've got the duct tape, the sticky tape together, and I've got everything glued together. And as long as I don't move it too far, it won't fall apart. That's what I call false congruence. It's trying to force the reality that we feel must exist instead of allowing the flow to happen and letting the reality move by itself into something that's more harmonious and more aligned with our own energy. Alignment is going to be...
I was just going to say, it's such an important point, because I think everyone has some fairy tale dream that they grow up with, that they want life to look like that. And we do all tape the boxes together at least once.
And they lived happily ever after.
But not for very long.
Exactly. I used to look at that when I was a little kid. I think, what exactly does that mean? And they lived happily ever after, because the fairy tale is always, that's where the fairy tale ends. The prince kisses the princess, and then they get married and they live happily ever after. And they never tell you what happens after that.
There are no clues. Absolutely no clues. And, all those fairy tales are about different states of the soul. I do want to point out, because I think, you and I probably see so much of this, the relationship where you love each other, but it's destructive. I say this often, but it seems not to get through. Just because when you first meet someone, you feel like there's a huge connection and you seem to really know each other, all that means is that you've known each other in another lifetime. It doesn't mean that you're meeting your soulmate or someone you should marry. It just means you've recognized each other.
Well, it often means there's a very powerful lesson that's building there. And the more, think of what the word soulmate means. So people, attach the idea of, this perfect union that's absolutely magnificent to the word soulmate. But if you think about the actual soul history and the soul lessons, you quickly realize, soulmate doesn't mean, the best and the greatest relationships. Sometimes soulmate relationships are absolutely terrible. And exactly. They're hard, but there's a lesson there, and there's a powerful lesson that's so important that the connection between you has to be at such a level that you cannot avoid the relationship. And I've had those kinds of relationships, and I'm sure you do too. And it's like this compelling connection that's so powerful. It's like, I've got to be with that person.
Yes, it's like a magnet.
Mm-hmm. A really strong magnet.
A very strong magnet. And it is a learning experience, but it doesn't mean happily ever after. I do say sometimes you want to be with someone that you're comfortable with and that your habits are comfortable for each other. If you have a couple people to choose from, choose that, someone you're compatible with. Well,
the problem with the soulmate relationship, and those cycles are ending, by the way. We're moving into a new energy that I described in one of my books, actually back like in 2012. And I taught this as early as like 2007. We're moving into what I call the kindred spirit, which is someone we have no karma with. So we are truly soulmates, but we go into an evolution cycle with our soul. So the soul mate is actually a mirror of your soul, but at a particular stage of evolution. So if you are in a healing cycle and you're in a really big healing cycle, then you're going to meet someone who mirrors that healing cycle and who helps you get through it, which is a soulmate. And then when it doesn't pan out to be, the fabulous, wonderful relationship where, everybody's great and wonderful and it ends really well, you think, oh no, but I wanted my soulmate. Well, you did get your soulmate, and you had to learn that lesson. So your soul brought in someone who was going to teach it to you in such a profound way, because that connection was going to be so strong that you would not be able to avoid that relationship.
And for everyone who's had one of those, you know exactly what we're talking about. Without a doubt.
I know all too well. When someone says, I want a soulmate,
included.
I think, yeah, when someone says, I want a soulmate, I usually go, you might want to rethink that.
Yeah, that's not exactly what you really want. You just think you want it.
Well, you want the emotional part. You don't want the hard part.
Exactly. We've been through so much karma the last 10 years. Probably most of you who are listening have a high enough light level, so you've been going through it too. We're ready to have things on a little smoother level now, I think. And you say that we're going to, so that's wonderful. So on that note, let's go ahead and take a break. We've been talking with my guest, Jennifer Hoffman, about 5D energies and new ways of aligning with incoming energies. When we come back, we'll talk about 2020 and new paradigms. So let's go to break now.
Hey, how's it going? If it's stressful or just plain exhausting, New Light Living is here to ask, is this the way you want to live? Join me, your intuitive spiritual life coach and host, Ulrika Sullivan, every week on New Light Living. Discover the power of creative tools to start living every day as your ideal dream day. See your life in the new light. To learn more, visit newlightliving.com.
Do you sometimes feel overwhelmed by your mind? Powerless when it seems to spin in worry circles or bombard you with self-critical thoughts? Do you want to learn how to master your mind and feel more in control of your life? Listen to Dr. Friedman's Empowerment Radio. Shift from confusion to clarity, self-doubt to confidence, and from anxiety to peace and balance. Dr. Friedman and his many guest experts share the insights and tools you want to live with greater ease, joy, and purpose. Tune in to Empowerment Radio every first and third Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time.
Have you lost a loved one and would desperately love a sign to prove that they are okay? Here's a tip for you. Be curious. Keep an open mind about everything. The proof will come from the most unlikely places. The messages promise to challenge your current beliefs and what you've been taught. Accept and appreciate all, no matter where they come from. I'm Angie Corbett-Kuiper. I would love for you to share your signs from beyond on my closed Facebook page, Beyond Grief.
Have you heard of drawing a longer line? A teacher drew a line on the board and asked her students how to make the line shorter without changing or erasing it. No one knew the answer, so she drew a longer line right next to the first one. You can be just like that teacher. If you lack self-confidence, you can draw a longer line. Think of someone you love, someone who inspires you, and ask yourself, what would they do? Remember, you don't have to change the fear or try and get rid of it. A bigger thought, a larger feeling, has the power to release you from the limits that undermine your confidence. Then you're free to take inspired action, to be your best self. Hi, I'm Sarah Main, co-host of Conscious Confidence Radio. Join me and my co-host Dr. Pat on TransformationTalkRadio.com. To learn more about how to transform your life with conscious confidence, go to my website, ConsciousConfidence.com.
The Truth is Funny. Shift Happens with Colette Marie Steffen is excited to welcome Karen Benton as a monthly guest host. Tune in on the third Wednesday of each month at 8 a.m. Pacific Time to regain confidence and trust in your capacity to create change in your life, your health, your family, and your well-being. Karen Benton is a mother, nurse practitioner, certified body talk practitioner, Franklin Method instructor, and owner of Limitless Living LLC. For more information about Karen, visit KarenBenton.com.
Hello, everyone. I'm Julia Griffin at OneTrueSelf.com, ONETrueSelf.com, and you're listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening on Transformation Talk Radio, where you can experience a higher vibration and a new state of mind. We're talking with Jennifer Hoffman at Enlighteninglife.com about the upcoming year, 2020, including new paradigms and portals. Jennifer and I both like practical, spiritual information that you can use to make changes in your life, so stay tuned. It's great info. So welcome back, Jennifer.
Well, thank you, Julia. We've had a very interesting talk so far. Now we're going to get to the good stuff.
Here we go to the exciting parts. So tell us about what you see and feel in 2020. Last year was a 3 in numerology. That's magical skills. 2020 is a 4, and this can indicate the potential for growth in the material world, such as putting our beliefs and our magic into form. So give me your take on it.
Well, so we have some very interesting, and I want to say some monumental energies and things happening in 2020. First of all, we only get that date, like 10/10/2020, once in a millennium. So 2020 is a once in a 1,000-year date. The next date like that is going to be 3030, which I don't plan to be around. Then I don't know about you. So we have that.
I want to be in a higher place.
Yeah, me too. Definitely. So we also have a once in 500 years, I bet about 516 or 520 years event, and that is the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. The last time that happened was in the year 1516, and that's when Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses to the door of the Wittenberg Cathedral protesting the corruption in the Catholic Church, which at the time was truly heresy. I mean, he could have been drawn and quartered, dismembered, hung by the terrible things done to him, because the Catholic Church was the most powerful and political, social, religious entity in the world. So it started the Protestant Church, and it completely altered society at the time. So that was monumental, and we actually have that aspect happening. It becomes exact on January 12th, 2020. I can't stress how important that is, and you can see it already. Look at all the corruption that's being revealed. Look how people are starting to question, official narratives and start thinking for themselves. And you see a lot more people supporting each other. So the whole collective narrative is changing. The whole collective paradigm is changing. So not only do we have this, this date 2020, which is a 4, but if we look at December of 2019, we have the 12th month. 2019 is equal to 12. If you add 2 plus 1 plus 9, that's 12. Well, when did we last have 12, 12, 12? In 2012. Remember that whole 12, 20, 12, 12 and the 12, 21, and we thought the world was going to end and ascension was going to happen, and it was so disappointing because nothing really happened.
Nothing happened. It was just a little vague vibration.
Right. It was like a little ping, and we were expecting, a big bang. Well, but a lot did happen, and that was aligned with the potential of that time. So we had to go through a lot more other things before we could really get into the full potential of 12, 12, 12. And 9 years later, we're coming full circle with that. So we have that energy happening in December, which is going to close out this decade in a really powerful way. And I think bring about the changes that we expected to see in 2012. 2012, now those changes can come to fruition because we are at the frequency where we can actually handle the changes and we can actually work with the energies in a much higher frequency and more powerful way. So for those who have done their work and who have, been really focused on raising their vibes, raising their frequency, and working with this energy in a powerful way, I think 2020 is going to be a fabulous year. I also feel that we're going to see a lot of separation. The people who have not been doing their work, who are making difficult life choices and maybe not being completely honest and in integrity with, honesty and the light and truth, I think those people are going to have a terrible time. So you're going to really be able to tell who's doing what and who is where energetically by what's going on in people's lives. And I think, in the Bible, it talks about separating the wheat from the chaff. I think we're going to see a lot of that starting in 2020 where, everybody has to make their choice, and everybody has to make a choice, and whatever they choose, it's fine, but we still have to make choices as to, which side of that light fence are we going to be on. There's no more sitting on the fence. We either have to choose the light or we're going to be in the dark. And there's no more middle.
I agree. And those groups, I think, too, are going to become more polarized as people make more and more choices.
Exactly. And, there's not just one choice. You can always make a different choice. You can always come back around and choose again. But I think the growth and the energy movement for those who have chosen the light will be vastly accelerated. And you're going to see a lot more forward movement and forward momentum in your life. And the people who are not choosing that are going to start feeling really, really stuck.
I agree. Because they're going to be more in the karmic pool as we separate out of it.
Exactly. And the karma is going to get harder because it's whereas the karmic energy before and all that density was dispersed over a very wide population, the population that's willing to carry that energy is now really, really small.
I agree.
So you're going to meet some tough karmic partners because there aren't that many of them left. None of us want to touch that with a 10-foot pole anymore. It's like, no, thank you. Been there, done that. Have multiple T-shirts in many colors. Sometimes it takes me a while, but I finally get it. And when I do, it's like, I walk around that pothole. I give it a very wide berth. So, again, there's no like set standard for how to do this. I think most people know, and you know what feels right to you. And I think using your own discernment and using your own intuition and listening to your intuition is really important for 2020, because we're moving into a more, I want to say, spiritually responsible and spiritually mature period where it's time for us to start really acting through our spirituality, not in the peace and light, ignore reality and play with the rainbows mentality, but more, this is about integrating. So your life is spiritual. Your life is part of this energy. It's fully integrated in the life that you have, how you live, how you operate in your world. It has to be a true integration of spiritual and material so that you're living that miraculous life. You're working on that miraculous level. It's part of your everyday life. It's not, oh yeah, I wish this would happen. It's like, it's really embracing your power and living from that point of power.
Sure. It's like, this is very simplified, but you can load the dishwasher or bake a cake and feel like you're in ecstasy, but you're aware of the world around you. Or you can feel like it's drudgery. A lot of this is placement of consciousness.
So, like, for example, when I said I wrecked my car, and I loved my car. I'd had my car for years. I'm one of these people, I do not like buying new cars. I buy a car that I like, and then I literally keep it forever until it just falls apart, and I have to buy another car. Well, it was really time for me to buy another car. My car was having problems. I think it was having some mechanical issues. And I was just getting ready. I was going to go and do some work in LA, and I was getting ready to drive 1,800 miles from my home to LA, and I was supposed to leave like within a couple days. And I ended up not being able to take my car, which, my guides had been telling me for a while, you need to buy a new car. I'm like, no, I hate buying new cars. Well, my car got totaled. So that was the end of that. I ended up having to fly out to LA, and then I had to buy a new car while I was in LA. So, that your angels operate on that level too, and you need to give them room, to operate, because that's part of their work, is to protect you, is to keep you lined up with your soul mission. And they will help you in that respect by, sometimes it feels like, they're creating a huge problem for you, like wrecking my car. But in the end, the truth was I really needed to not drive that car anymore because it was actually not functioning. And I certainly didn't need to find myself stranded in the middle of nowhere desert somewhere out in the mountains between LA and Phoenix, with a car, or Kansas City with a car that didn't work.
Well, the point that you're making, though, is so important. It's like for the people who have crossed the bridge and gotten into the place that we're going to look at both sides of reality from a higher perspective, you do get pushed to do an awful lot of things. And it's easier if you do it sooner as opposed to later.
That's right. The consequences are a lot less severe. It's like they don't push as hard. But, then we get into, so this is also, something that I'm teaching now because it has really come up now. This is about being in integrity and alignment with our soul's energy. So now we need to live from our soul's purpose and the congruence and the level of energy that our soul holds for us, and to start connecting on that level. And we can only do that when we're done with the karma, when we're done with the healing, when we, stop trying to fix everybody and stop focusing on, dispersing our energy and trying to be better, but just deal from that internal soul level, which we all have, and start living our life through that, because that's the real high vibes, high frequency, 5D living, is living at that level of energy. But what it means is you really have to live in integrity with that energy. So you can't be involved with people who are just not at that frequency with you. And those relationships will just not work, and you'll be literally blocked on every single level. For example, I've been trying to be part of this group here where I live, and the people are nice enough, but I just felt the first time I met them that they just, I didn't really resonate with them. But I thought they were nice enough people, and I wanted to make new friends. I have missed every single meeting that they have had for the last 6 months for one reason or another. Either I didn't know, or somehow the emails didn't get to me, or they dropped me off their mailing list twice. And I just finally thought, okay, I'm not supposed to be part of this group, so thank you. Because there's something that's
the message
not
is clear. Thank you, universe.
Yes, the message is clear. I mean, how many times do you literally get dropped from a mailing list? And I didn't take myself off, and they didn't understand how I got dropped off the mailing list. And I just or they'll have an event and I'll know about it and I'll just forget to go.
Right.
I just
I've had that happen too.
Forget. And I don't.
And it'll even be on my calendar or on my desk, and I still can't remember to do it.
Right. And I'll see it when the event's over. It's impossible for me to go because the event is over. I think, well,
right.
Darn, I really wanted to go. I wanted to make new friends, and I wanted to do that. Nope, that's not. If I'm going to go do that, it's not going to be with those people. So this is something else that that living in integrity, which is also includes alignment and congruence. Being in integrity in every aspect of our lives is going to be figure very prominently for 2020, and that's going to be a little hard to get used to, especially when a relationship just ends. Boom, it's over and goodbye, and move on to the next thing. And you're thinking, wait a minute, what just happened? I'm not ready for this to end yet. But it can't be revived. You just won't be able to reconnect with that person.
It happens. Now, one of the things that I think that you described so well is when we go through these experiences of many waves of light coming to the planet at one time, or the Schumann frequency goes way up, you have a good way of explaining that. Can you do that for our listeners?
So the Schumann frequency is the heartbeat of the planet. It's like the energetic frequency of the planet. And normally, I think it's 7.83 hertz. And it has gone up to as far as 100 hertz or greater, which throws everybody out of whack. So what happens is we get these massive waves of energy that bombard the planet that come from the sun. And I think when the Earth, because we are all collectively participating in this, so we are all participating in shifting, the frequency of the planet. So in response to our work, the sun sends higher frequency energy to the Earth, and the Earth says, oh, thank you. Well, the whole frequency of the planet goes up, but also, so that includes the Schumann resonance, so that we also get bombarded by these high frequency waves, which causes, among other things, weight gain, bloating. It can make you feel really sick. It can give you bad headaches. It can make you not sleep well at night. It's not always pleasant. But what also is happening is as we are raising that frequency, we are building new frequencies into the Earth's grid. So every time the frequency goes up, we can integrate the energy that we can, the rest of it we can't, but we don't start from zero with the next frequency. We start at whatever we were able to integrate from the previous one. So we're gradually building a new energetic frequency and a new energetic foundation that is realigning everything in our physical bodies, which is why if you've been having like strong headaches or you can't sleep at night, and we do a lot of this energy work at night. And I wrote this kind of funny article called "Night Lighting: Holding the Light for the in the Dark," where I would be up at literally 3:03 in the morning. For a long time, I was awake every single morning at 3:03, and I would be awake for an hour, maybe two, and then I would go back to sleep. And it just went on for the longest time. And finally, I asked around my communities, like my Facebook group, I said, "Is anybody else waking up at like 3 o'clock in the morning?" And everybody said, "Yes, yes, it's me." I literally at the same time every single morning. And I don't set my clock for 3 o'clock in the morning. But
of course not.
What's happening is we're all participating. So we do a lot of this work at night because when other people are asleep, there's no energetic interference. So we're doing a lot of the work at night, but we are all participating in raising the frequency of the planet, which means that the density foundation, so the deepest, darkest, densest energy of the planet, has now left. And that's why, as I said earlier, there are very few people who are willing to hold that energy because there's just nobody who wants to hold that energy. Nobody wants that energy anymore. So if you're involved in a lot of heavy-duty karma, you're going to have some very strong karmic partners because the foundation, the energetic foundation of the planet, like that energetic vibration has completely, has raised so much that density is at a completely different level now than it was, say, even 7 or 8 years ago, and certainly in the last 2012. From the last 12 we had, which we get another one in December. We get two. We get one on the 12th and one on the 21st.
26th. And the 26th, because we'll have the solar eclipse then. So we have 3 times in December, I think.
Right.
So that will be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It'll be
I
very
guess we can see it as our Christmas present.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how great that present is. Sometimes the universe's Christmas presents are not very festive.
I know, or they make you just want to lie on the sofa for 2 or 3 days, but you have a lot of work. That's the other piece of it. Well, we're coming to the end of our talk, so I want to sum up some of what we were talking about, and that is that we are indeed going into light. There's no question about that. We are.
Absolutely.
And
for the people who think, oh, it's taken so long, oh, look how hard it is, need to consider that we are changing, millennia of energy. So these aren't just, we're just, shifting the energy here. We are changing the entire energetic paradigm of the planet and of humanity. So
Lightworkers, you are doing a great and wonderful job. I want to wish you happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and thank you for being here with me and Jennifer Hoffman. You can find Jennifer's fabulous material at enlighteninglife.com. You can sign up for the weekly newsletter on my website, onetrueself.com, onetrueself.com, and receive many tips about the energetic weather, developing on a spiritual level, and finding a higher vibration. So I want to thank you for tuning into the Power of Inspiration and Awakening show, where you can experience a higher vibration and a new state of mind. Please join me on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of every month at 12 noon Eastern, 11 Central, and 9 a.m. Pacific. Have a wonderful holiday, and I'll see you back here in a couple weeks. Namaste.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Inspiration and Awakening Radio with Julia Griffin to master a higher frequency for a new state of mind. Join us next time as Julia takes us deeper into the memory of the moments of light where transcendence and enlightenment emerge. The memory of the jewel of consciousness has always lived within you. To tap into waves of energy and create huge changes by imagining the beauty of the vision and desires that are hidden in the heart. Learn to find your way back to nature, beauty, and your own heart, which holds the secrets of your existence and future. To discover more about Julia's adventures, animal communication, and the teachings she brings to every show, visit OneTrueSelf.com. That's OneTrueSelf.com. That's ONE, TrueSelf.com.